Who Watches the Rewatchers, a Buffy rewatch podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Who Watches the Watchers, our Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch podcast. My name's Jarrod. I'm with my good friend Alan, and we are starting season 2, episode 1, When She Was Bad. Alan, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. How are you?
Very good, very good. I want you to know, and everybody out there, if I said this once, I probably said it a million times, I'm on a medication that makes me not sleep. So last night, I woke up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m, and that's what's been happening for the past couple weeks. So I'm watching something at 3 a.m, and then my internet goes out for it like rebooted or something. So it kicked me to whatever was on my quote unquote live television, and there it was, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, season 2, episode 1. Even though I had already watched this, for the show, it was like, okay, all right, this is some nice cosmic karmic energy going. So I watched a little bit more of it again. So yeah, here we are. We got to start season 2. And what happened at the end of season 1 is they dealt with the master. And Buffy, she was baptized. She's ready to kick butt, take names. And I think we've gone all summer long, right, Alan, with Buffy out of the picture.
That's right.
For both her buddies, the Scoobies, Xander and Willow. And we start on them, don't we? The scene starts with the cold open?
It does. And this one is pretty intense in terms of the emotional connectivity, right? Like, we've seen Willow pining after Xander for an entire season. And now we have this moment where Xander is touching his ice cream on Willow's nose, and then he goes to lick it off, and Willow doesn't know how to react to that.
Yeah, firstly, they're walking at night and there's no one around, and then they're walking next to a cemetery, and it's like, okay, guys, and you're right. There's ice cream, there's banter, and there's a little ice cream on your nose, and it seems like they're gonna have a romantic moment, and they're interrupted. They're interrupted by a vampire, and it's like right over Xander's shoulder. It's pretty cool. I really liked how that happened. And as they're going to fight I think this might have been one scene where Xander's like first throw is like a backhanded punch or something strange. Like, it's like not a very real good tactic for fighting, but I guess it's good for television.
Right. Very visual. Very visual.
Very visual. Yes. And as he's going, trying to do his best, somebody steps up. Buffy's back. That's pretty cool, right?
Yes.
And she, I think she kicks butt. She probably has got a one-liner. I don't really remember. Yeah. She just says, "Miss me" at the end of it.
Yeah, that's right. There's a bunch of good dialogue earlier than that, though, where Willow and Xander are playing some game where they're trying to identify lines of dialogue.
Oh, they're quoting movies back and forth.
Right.
Yeah. Did you ever play those kinds of games? Is that a time capsule for our generation? Like, I mean, I don't know if people watch movies the way that we did, because I think television series are so much more popular now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you might be right about that. But I mean, I remember being that age, and nearly everyone I knew could quote at least a dozen lines from The Princess Bride.
And then you kind of create humor that way. Is like just quoting, like riffing on. Right, it's like a derivative.
Right. I am not left-handed either. Yeah, absolutely. Or Star Wars lines. I mean, those were always super popular. So on and so forth. But yeah, I do not hear my students currently at the college where I teach do much of this quoting of lines.
Yeah, I think I might be intuitively onto that, and I think all through Buffy, especially with Xander, they do a good job of referencing pop culture. My favorite is a reference to Magnolia. It's Tom Cruise's lewd character in Magnolia, but it's about the cruller and the donut, and failing the language but picking between two donuts, and that's the musical episode. But it's it's really good. It's really good references, great references. So
my favorite upcoming movie reference is in the 7th season. Even though the 7th season is widely panned as one of the worst ones, it's got a handful of really, really good episodes and a ton of good lines in it. And there's a bit where by the way, I got to preface this by telling the listener that
our listener,
yeah, right, that I do a lot of Godzilla drawing. Like a lot of I drew this book called Big in Japan, which is a Godzilla parody, and it was very well received in the Godzilla community. So I get hired to draw giant monsters just all the freaking time. And in the 7th season, there's this moment where someone says, "Oh, killing that uber vamp, it must be like fighting Godzilla." And then someone else says, "Yeah, but if Matthew Broderick can kill Godzilla, how hard can it be?" Right?
Right. Yeah. I just want to say
there's a back and forth after that makes it even funnier. But yes,
your sentence before all this, to set it up, I mean, there's so much in there that is just worth unpacking, but we won't now. But I get hired to draw, and then you said, and you're well received in the Godzilla community. All these sentences and words are just filled with curiosity and interest to me.
Sure.
The Godzilla community. Oh my gosh. Anyway, you're talented, and I love you for it. After she kills them, she wants to know what they're doing out there by themselves, and they tell her that that's the very first vampire that's been around since the Master's been gone. So it's been a quiet summer. Maybe that's why Xander and Willow are so kind of haphazard.
Yes.
Then Willow asks about Giles, right? And this is the thing that kind of sets the emotional tone for the episode for Buffy. Mm-hmm. Buffy's like, we'll see him at school, like kind of more dismissive or not as interested to go run off to Giles, like almost disconnected is how she acts, right?
Right. And you can tell something's weird with Buffy.
Right. Yeah, she's got a little ennui maybe or something creeping in. And
we might also have to start a thing where at the beginning of each season we talk about Buffy's hair.
Yeah, you just want to just note the changes each season.
Yeah. I think so. So last season, her hair was much longer. How would you describe the way that she's gotten her haircut between seasons?
Oh, I can't even remember right now, but I will tell you, as the episodes of Buffy went on the live on the last night, I did notice several different aesthetic looks, including her hair and Giles's tan level, the lighting of rooms. It was interesting. I did notice that. So yeah,
I read a great interview with Anthony Head. Is that how you say his last name? Is it Head or He? Head.
I always have Head, but yeah.
Okay. He said that on Buffy, because of the warehouse vibe or whatever, and it was always kind of hot in there, that many of the shots of him were done from waist up. So he would often do his scenes where it looks like he's wearing a suit in basically boxer shorts.
That's awesome. I never knew that. That's cool. Well, the feelings that you start to see in Buffy are confirmed a little bit because the next scene we cut to her home where Joyce and her dad, I can't remember her dad's name, but he's that milk toasty dude. And right. And I think the question
this is one of the 4 episodes he's ever in.
Right. Yep. And the question that Joyce is like, well, geez, how many clothes, you bought her tons of clothes. And, he admits to overcompensating by letting her shop, but also says, honestly, she wasn't really all that with it the whole time or connected. There was something in the way. And I mean, I actually think that makes a whole lot of sense with her. You could just even assume at this point that it's just how, distant they are, but, whatever. That's just kind of
sure
entrance into it. And from there, I think we then now enter back into school. And the principal's there, which is cool because he's going to start playing a bigger and bigger role. And he's such a fun kind of serpent-y sort of character with his little mouth. I just like him. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's awesome. And the actor is fantastic and funny. He wrote a series of detective novels.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't read any of them yet, but my wife bought one.
Armin Shimmerman?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And by the way, going to him, we're skipping over the shot with Cordelia where she's talking about, her nightmare.
Oh yeah. Go on with that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that she enters and she's telling her friends about this. It was a nightmare. It was a total nightmare. And you think she's going to be talking about killing the master because of the way she's delivering the lines, Yeah. And then of course, that's not what she's talking about. She's talking about the fact that she unfortunately had to go to Tuscany over the summer and visit art buildings, right?
Yeah, who wants to go see a bunch of art? Oh yes, yeah. That they took the opportunity again to make her cartoony.
Yes.
And that you're right. That was funny. Back to that principal, he's doing his shtick of just basically saying how disgusted and how much he hates the students, which is
yes, they've returned to the school like locusts.
Yeah. I think Giles is like, your opinion of students makes me wonder if you've chosen the wrong job.
Right,
And,
right.
and then,
His response was something like, "Did you ever consider, a different career, considering your disgust of students?" And he says something like, "No, why?"
no, right. And this calendar shows up now. Just go get it, boy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Now we get this gets weird because Giles and Miss Calendar, Jenny Calendar are there, and they run into Buffy and the Scoobies, and so now they have this little insular group in the middle of everybody.
Yes,
which they often do that kind of thing, but it's their little group, and they have this little moment, and then that Willow starts talking about the happenings, like killing the vampire, and everyone kind of points out to her, like, "Geesh, quiet down, like everyone can hear you."
Yeah,
in the middle of everybody. And then there's the throwaway, kind of the answer, like, well, I thought the Hellmouth was stop. We stopped the master, but Giles is I guess the trope is that just the mystical energies make it possible for things to happen.
Sure.
Cool stuff happens.
Right.
And then Giles says, "Hey, Buffy, we should start training again. I know you're busy, so you can give some time." And she's like, "No, I'm ready to do this."
Yeah.
She's all business.
Yeah, all business, and you can tell from the look on Giles' face that he's concerned. And of course, then we go to the library and see amazing calisthenics like now in the library.
Well, and I wanted to point this out because this is the first time we really see a training session like this.
Right.
I was always frustrated watching Buffy when they would use doubles for Sarah Michelle Gellar. There are times where I think it's unnecessary. Like she's not doing something crazy, and it's clearly a different person. And there's times where they use them like men and put wigs on them, and use people much older than her. And like you can tell, it's not as seamless, I think.
Sure.
And so it just is almost a continuity thing. And then later, there are times when they use Sarah Michelle Gellar punching, and she's doing it in a way that would hurt herself in real life.
Right.
So it's kind of this aspect of the show just kind of bothered me a little. I thought that you could be a little cleaner, less sloppy. But the point of the scene is to show
please.
Absolutely tip-top shape, and she just whips the crap out of Giles, and he's out of breath. And okay, no need to worry there. You're in tip-top.
And she says but she ends it with this thing where she says something like, "I'm ready. Yeah. And it's super clear.
She pulls her hair back.
She is still freaked out about whatever happened in the last episode.
Yeah, there's trauma.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely trauma.
Though, backing up to what you were talking about with the stand-ins, I totally agree with you. But we should probably mention that, okay, we talked about at the beginning of the podcast when we first started this, that Joss Whedon's been canceled, and we don't approve of his shenanigans, blah blah blah. But one of the things that became publicized in the process of him being canceled was some of the shenanigans that went on the set of Buffy. They didn't have anything to do with him being, predatory sexually or any of that kind of stuff. It had to do with the fact that many of the people on Buffy felt that appropriate safety precautions weren't being put into place throughout the shooting. In fact, Sarah Michelle Gellar's husband, Sarah Michelle Gellar would never talk about it publicly, but her husband said that one of the things.
Prinze Jr.
Yes, that's right. Freddie Prinze Jr. said that there were just a ton of problems on set, and that Sarah ended up kind of being cast as like the bad guy on set a lot whenever she would try to bring up, hey, how does this work from a safety, perspective or whatever. And that stuff would cause them to take longer to do specific scenes or whatever, and that really didn't play well with some of the higher ups on the set. He didn't name Joss specifically, but I do wonder, based on what you just said, I have no idea if what you were just talking about and what I'm talking about are connected, but I have to wonder if they are.
It's interesting. I actually don't remember what a lot of the accusations are, or the variety of them, So that's interesting.
Well, I think the biggest accusation against Whedon is just that he was sexually promiscuous while he was claiming to be a feminist, and his wife divorced him over these accusations. And there have been a lot of accusations from like Charisma Carpenter regarding her dismissal from Angel. And there was one particularly damning accusation from the girl who plays Dawn, that what she said was, say again?
Shel Trachtenberg.
Yes, that's her name. She said that she was never allowed to be in a room alone with Whedon.
Right, I remember that one. And I think Nicholas Brendan actually came out on Twitter or something in support of Charisma Carpenter. But yeah, let's not go any further into that.
Yeah, let's stay on the good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm only mentioning it because you were talking about switching Buffy out, and I'm curious if that had anything to do with the safety stuff on the set, but I don't honestly know one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, speaking of creepy male behavior.
Yes, here we go.
Buffy's having a dream, which is actually, this reveals all of her anxiety. It's she's with Giles, and the Giles becomes the master and begins to choke her, and it's a nightmare, and she's still got the trauma. When she wakes up, lurking in her room, Angel. It's just so creepy, and he's in the window to warn her about, It just doesn't, more. I guess I'm throwing more shade on Angel here. That's not, you could have come at any other time. She's sleeping. He makes a joke. It's just like your lunch hour, right? And it's like, just want you to know the Anointed One's gathering forces. It's like, come on, man. Don't come at like 9 o'clock, not middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
And she's a little bit surly with him, and but he acts like a teenager. He does not act like a 200-year-old vampire. There, I said it. So,
I think they play Angel as being a little bit socially inept all the way through.
Yeah.
Well, so after that, we cut back to the high school, and Cordelia is interacting with Scoobies again. And
but now this time, she's coming to them and talking about what's really happened, right?
That's exactly right. Right.
And they're like, hey, calm down. We don't want people to know about Buffy's identity as the Slayer. And
she says, "Don't worry, your secret's safe with me." It's like the most human, maybe the second most human sentence we've heard from Cordelia this entire series.
Exactly. Yep. Now they bounce back to the Bronze. I think they even announced the band that they brought on with. I think it was a real band back then. I'm not recalling it right now, but they go to hear a band, and while they're there, Willow very cutely and sweetly is trying to, get that magic back. She has the foam on her nose, and I think she gets his attention, and he's just like, "Something's on your nose," and he's really dismissive. He's unaware.
No,
but he's just looking around, waiting for
Buffy. Yeah.
So it's kind of sad.
It is very sad. But is this the season when Willow meets Oz?
I can't remember. It's either this or the third, right? So it's coming up. But in the underworld of things, the Anointed One, and there's a vampire, Absalom, which is a cool name for very biblical sounding-ish name. They're on the job. The job that they're leading other vampires to be part of is digging up the Master's bones.
Yep.
They're doing it in bare hands through consecrated dirt. This is, Giles and them buried the bones somewhere in consecrated soil so that the bones couldn't be dug up. So they're being brutal to other vampires as they're retrieving the bones to try to reanimate the Master. And then we cut back to the Bronze where Buffy shows up, and there's Angel, and he's interested, and she brushes him off.
Yep.
And then Buffy all of a sudden kind of goes into bad girl Buffy mode.
Yes.
And so she goes over and gets Xander, pulls him onto the dance floor, and she gets very seductive.
Yes.
For dancing, and everyone notes it right away. Like they know what's happening, and she's upsetting everyone. Cordelia even has the emotional intelligence to know that she is violating some sort of friendship stuff. And that's another human part. After Buffy walks off the floor, leaves, Cordelia confronts her and says, you need to get over it. Whatever, like I go through pain all the time. You just got to get over it.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily the best advice, but I kind of appreciated her intent, because I think she was wise enough to see that this was causing harm to her friends. And
lose the Joan Collins tude.
That's right.
Yeah.
What a dated reference.
That's why I said it. I think it
Yeah.
was dated then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I think she walks off, right? And then Cordelia, isn't she like kidnapped?
Yes, yes, yes. Cordelia was kidnapped because we
Yeah.
discovered
Okay.
that they need all the people that were
Oh, that were there. Yeah, that's right.
there.
All the people that were there near to the master. There's a whole thing where Giles is reading something in Latin and near to, next to, what. It's all the people that were right around the master when he died. We need them to help recreate this. And so that's why yes. And that's why she is kidnapped and all the Scoobies are in danger now. Buffy is sulking. She's not around them. She's going to that cemetery to see the master's grave. And when she gets there, it's empty. And I think that's when we start realizing something strange is afoot.
That's right. That's right. We need to comment on Principal Schneider's scene.
Go ahead.
So
you have to help me recall it right now.
Yeah. So he's talking about his ability to smell trouble, and he says that the Summers girl is trouble, and he can smell it like an aroma, Yeah. And it's just this fantastic interaction between he and Giles. What's so great about it is it's like Giles is the mentor who's in Buffy's corner, and Principal Schneider is like the antithesis of that. And they are opposites in every way, tall versus short, perfect hair versus no hair. I mean, like the whole thing right there. And it's just such a great little like quick scene where, and I think it's there mostly to remind you how much Giles is in Buffy's corner, to put him contrary to the other character. I think they did a really good job with that, like having these little subtle moments to remind you what the characters are doing. Like in modern TV, a lot of times because we're expected to watch, episode after episode, they won't recapitulate that stuff in every episode. They'll assume that if you want to see the show, you're going to go back to the beginning of it and watch it sequentially, as opposed to every single episode needing to stand on its own. And this is a great little moment where they're thinking this might be the first episode of Buffy anybody's ever seen, And so they're like trying to make sure you understand what who all the characters are as they arrive and what they mean to the main character and what the main character means to them. They're trying to make sure that they cover all those bases. And I thought that was just the beautiful little moment to remind us, about the mentorship of Giles.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. And you're right that side by side, it's just the opposites, and it's really, really stark. That night, the Scoobies, they all learn about the ritual that the vampires are going to do. I think they call it the revivification ritual. So they need the blood of the closest person. Buffy assumes that's like her. She and the master had their tango to death.
Right.
And in that moment, a rock comes crashing through the library window with a note on it. It's like perfect. It's like comic timing.
Yeah.
Crashed through the library window. It's got something of Cordelia's with it. And the message, Buffy to the Bronze, come to the Bronze or we're going to kill your friend Cordelia.
Right.
Everyone believes it's a trap, but Buffy's like, I'm going to do this alone. That's one of Buffy's leadership growing edges throughout the entire show, is that she's going to always go alone.
Yeah.
She needs to be constantly reminded that she can't go it alone. Even though there's times when the leader is always alone, she's always called to remember that she stands on the shoulders of others, and they go with her, which I think is an interesting theme leadership-wise that comes throughout. She goes alone, she can't look after him. I don't think it's arrogance on her part, but I think it's this like profound sense of duty and
I think she's trying to make sure that if anyone gets hurt, it's only going to be her.
Right. Yeah. So she makes it to the Bronze, and there's Angel to help. Yeah. They start like a little lover spat sort of thing. And when they go inside, expecting to see that there's a trap, there's a vampire playing Cordelia, and and then they realize that it has been a trap, but it's not a trap to get Buffy there. It's a trap to get Buffy away from the
other Scoobies. Yep.
They're the ones, and they're still in the library, and they become easy prey.
That's right.
And I thought that was a pretty clever, and the way they told it really worked well. I mean, it felt like sequential order to figure out how that worked. and it all happening with Giles learning the translation, right? Like putting it together in real time at just the moment when the vampires are showing up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then that library once again becomes a place of, I don't know how many times that library has become like this little place where it's like it's set up such that vampires can easily sneak on them or something.
I wonder if there's some sort of metaphor there, or it's just literally a limited sets. So we're going to have a lot of action in this room. Is there some sort of metaphor like I don't know, the library is where we fight all of our battles when we're learning to be writers or something for the show.
I don't know, but if it's over the library's like over the Hellmouth, like the thing with the closeness of home base to the close to where evil is, and like what's the difference between heaven and hell? It could be just like the way you think about something. I
like that. I like all that.
Yeah, it could be a lot going on, but yeah, or it could be small set, and then, oh, by the way, a metaphor follows.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Have to come up with one because of the small set. So Buffy comes back to the library and finds only Xander.
Yes, he's been beaten up and he's angry, and I feel like that happens a lot to Xander. He's alone.
Yeah. I was actually trying to remember, did Giles get knocked out? Because that's another ongoing gag there, where Giles gets knocked out every episode, right?
Yeah, that is. I don't remember if he did, but the emotional joy of the scene is that Xander's anger comes out and saying, if something happens to Willow, I'm going to kill you. Like, oh, wait, he's not just this silly boy. He really does love his friend. I mean, and, it's sweet, but also uncontrolled anger.
Yeah.
Now Buffy goes back. Well, she's walking back and forth a lot of places here. She goes back to the Bronze and tortures the vampire to get them to give up the goods on where the ritual is going to.
She uses your favorite cross to do it.
Yeah, the Forever 21 cross or whatever I call it. Yeah. It's in some abandoned factory, and there she intervenes and kills the vampires. The Anointed One, this little boy who's growing up between the seasons, I did notice he got a little older. Still safe. Angel and Xander, they take care of the other people, get them untied, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then there's that moment where Buffy now has to kind of confront the skeletal remains of the Master in her traumatized state, which is it's interesting, to see this symbolic thing that it represents something that harmed her, killed her, and what does she do to it?
Oh, you talking the cross?
No, the skeleton.
The skeleton. Oh, she gets really upset about the skeleton and smashes it to pieces.
Yeah. That's like when I'm trying to tee you up. I was trying to tee you up to be like that. That's how she handled her trauma there. Well, it's like,
I totally get it. So I'm still thinking about other things like leading up to it, like the thing that happens right before she smashes that thing to pieces and takes out everything that she has on it. The thing that happens right before that is there's this great exchange between her and Angel and Xander.
Okay.
And what happens there is she says, "Hey, you two need to get our friends out of there." And Angel says, "Somebody needs to distract the vampires." And she says, "Well, I'm going to go kill them." And Xander goes, "Well, that'll distract them."
Yeah, you're right. There's some good dialogue that I.
Yeah. So we're on full swing with the dialogue, and that's exactly right. So after we get everybody rescued, basically, that's when you're exactly right. Buffy gets just furious at these bones, and you can really. Sarah Michelle Gellar does an amazing job in the scene.
Yeah,
of just making you feel whatever she's going through. Like there's a catharsis there, but there's also there's also like a deep sadness, like I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, and it comes through in the tears and she breaks down, and so she's confronted the trauma and it's no longer under the surface. It's there for everyone to see now. Being veiled or an intended veil. And Angel, he holds her.
Yeah.
And they kind of cut to the next day. And then, Buffy is now having the more intimate conversations with Giles. She was keeping surfacey, but now we've broken through that. We've come back from summer and we've kind of confronted something together. So she's now afraid she's afraid of her friends after she's kind of
been bad to them.
Yeah, dismissive of him and taunting or dredging up the emotions with Xander. I mean, all that stuff. Yeah, she's worried about it. And Giles, I thought his response was very similar to how a father might instruct a child. Because if I think about my kids, and sometimes the biggest thing they're most concerned about, from my vantage point, it's not that big of a deal, right? And you just try to take them seriously and honor their worry. And then but remind and be you try to affirm their feelings, right? And then but you also remind them that there's more. And so he's like, there's going to be worse things, but that's he doesn't just say don't worry about it. He takes it seriously, but he also reminds her that you're going to make more mistakes. It's not
and I think this is the first moment where we start feeling like Giles is a dad.
Yeah, that's appropriate given that we had that fleeting moment with her father in the actual episode.
Right.
But he's
Giles
not even
is definitely more of a dad than her real dad. You just made me think that. I don't think I caught that before. That's great.
He wasn't even with her. He was with her mom. He wasn't even with her. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And then this is great because then Buffy, then she goes into class and there's a chair. There's a chair sitting next to Xander and Willow. It's open, and they saved it for her.
Yes. And then they start talking about just normal stuff, and you can tell that Buffy's scared that they're not going to include her, and they totally do. They don't even act like there's ever a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically we cut back to the Anointed One, but it's really just a tag to remind us that he's there.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Really, this episode is establishing a lot of emotional, relational drama for Buffy and her based on what she did on through.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode. The Vox folks thinks it's number 111 out of all of them, but it was pretty good, I think. What do you think?
I think so too. I mean, is it one of my favorite episodes? No, but I think there's plenty of good stuff in it, and I think it tees up a lot of things. Like one of the things that I really like about the Whedonverse in general is that a lot of the shows will have a point to them early on in a season, but then be building to something that's a convolution of all the ideas from earlier episodes. And I think this one's teeing you up for what's going to happen in sort of the mid-season reversal,
Yeah.
And I think that this is laying a lot of groundwork for where they want to go in the story. So I definitely wouldn't think of it as one of my favorite episodes, but it's got a handful of super memorable moments in it, and I think that it's a needed episode to get to what's going to happen later.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I do applaud it for trying to start dealing with the fact that the Slayer, by nature, is a character of trauma and tragedy.
Yes,
and that's something that once you start seeing the whole mythology, I think actually had to come to terms, and we'll talk when we get to there. Had to come to terms, like hard terms, with understanding sort of the Slayer's role in this mythopoetic universe.
Yes.
When you're watching it at this point, you have no idea where it's going with it, but it's always tied to tragedy and trauma, and starts early.
Man, so the very next episode we're going to see is also not one of my favorites, but the handful of episodes that happen after that are all fantastic.
All right, we're getting to the good stuff. Get into the good stuff.
Yeah. So the next episode is a Frankenstein story called Some Assembly Required. And just a quick preview. I'm not going to go into details about any of it. Right after that, we get the first Spike episode.
Yes.
After that, we get Xander's first romance with the Inca mummy girl.
Yes.
After that, we get a Cordelia-centric episode called Reptile Boy.
Oh,
after that, we get the first of many wonderful Halloween episodes.
Yes.
And I think that's the one where we meet Oz.
Okay.
I'm not positive about that, but I think so. And then after that, we get the first appearance of a character who's going to be known as Anne later on.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we get a Giles-centric episode. So we got one more That's not my favorite. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row that are like some of the best.
Bangers. Well, listen, if I have to pay attention to Buffy's hair each season,
yes,
you're going to have to do is we're going to have to count or figure out, we're going to have to pay attention to Spike's accent. Because as good as Spike is, Marsters is great at it, and he's the most well-developed character in the whole show, but he doesn't start and keep the same accent. I'll just say that.
That's true. That's true. Well, I'll have a lot to say about that when we get to that episode. I don't want to spoil any of that mess. But I've heard, I've met the dude in person, and I've heard many in interview with him, and so I have much to say about Mr. Marsters.
He talks a lot, doesn't he?
He does talk a lot. He does talk a lot, and he's a very thoughtful and funny dude.
Cool. All right. Well, my friend, I think for now that's all. It's a wrap.
That's a wrap.